Everyone, welcome to the first ClubOS Feature Spotlight, where we're going to talk about how you can use ClubOS to gain visibility into your sales funnel. The goal is simple. Give your leadership team visibility into what is happening within your club without them having to be physically there. Using ClubOS's tools, you will be able to gain visibility from the club level, the region level, or a location view. We have multiple dashboards for different perspectives depending on who you are within the organization. If you're on the executive leadership team, we have dashboards that will help give you a high-level view of what's going on across all of your clubs. If you're part of the marketing leadership team, we have dashboards that will give you details of the new leads coming in and how they move through the funnel. Finally, if you're part of the sales leadership team, we have metrics on how follow-ups are completed, metrics on the contacting of leads from your sales staff, and a high-level view of traffic physically in the location. With me today, I have Missy King, the product manager of analytics for ClubOS, who will be showing you the deeper dive into how the software works.
All right, thanks for that intro, Nick. So I want to get into just really giving you guys a good demo of what's going on and what we have to offer here in ClubOS. So our sales performance analytics dashboard was created, as Nick said, to give operators a really good insight into the entirety of their sales funnel. So everything from what leads are being created by your marketing efforts, all the way to are you closing events at the club. Each of our dashboards has three main components. We have the top level KPIs, or those really high level indicators that your club really cares about. And then we also have a deeper data set kind of at the bottom where you can deep dive into those nitty-gritty details that if you want to. In the middle, we have visuals to help you kind of understand the data that we're displaying to you and what's happening at your club. So just to start off, let's dive into this the first part of the funnel, so your new leads. This is something that's going to be really useful for someone in that marketing management role, or somebody on your marketing team that really wants to understand if your marketing efforts are successful in getting leads to come into your club. So what we can do here is we can look at the entirety of your club locations. We can also filter to only look at a specific location if there's a specific place you want to dive deeper into. But we can generally see kind of what is happening and how many leads have been created at the locations that I'm looking at. So in this particular scenario, some things that I wanted to call out is that at this top level, you can see that there's a total closed lead tours. So those are people that eventually came into your club. So they saw some sort of your marketing materials and then eventually stepped foot inside your club. And then we also have the new leads converted. So these two metrics, being able to compare them, is going to give you some insight into the holistic kind of what is your conversion rate at your club, as compared to kind of what is your conversion rate when somebody steps into the club. So the conversion kind of between web signups and the totality of your marketing conversion versus this in-club conversion. We then also have a bunch of visuals on this page that will give you insight into kind of those origins of your leads, where they're coming from, and then really the insight into, by day, what's happening and who's being created at your club. We can also then do the same visuals by the source. So whether you're using a marketing partner or you're marketing really heavily on your website, you can track which sources are going to be the most effective in bringing in those new leads. And then finally, you can see a little bit more detail into the conversion. So, of all your marketing sources, which ones were actually the most successful in converting new leads. In this case, it looks like our example has very heavy member referrals comparative to some of the other sources. And then you can see kind of generally day by day how successful you are in converting those leads.
I think what's really interesting about this dashboard and where I see customers using it most is when it comes to comparing social media channels or social media offers, being able to, the flexibility and the power of actually selecting into a specific marketing source and seeing how it performs all the way from it being a new lead all the way through conversions. Because at the end of the day, it's not about getting new leads, it's about converting new leads. So if one offer gets you a bunch of leads, but those leads aren't actually coming in and trying you out and converting, who needs that offer? That offer is not the right offer to have. That's one of the real biggest use cases that I see our marketing teams use with this dashboard, and it's really super exciting to see them be able to hone in their social media ads based off of that.
Absolutely, Nick. And one of the other things that kind of our dashboards let you dive deeper into is those, right, like Nick said, those initial contacts with those new leads. So what's happening after the marketing team gets those leads and they come into your club. So we do have a high level metric here that shows you kind of, are you missing opportunities to contact leads? But I want to dive deeper into that and looking at the actual initial contacts that are made to leads. So this dashboard is really digging into just that, the initial contact that's made. And industry standards have shown that specifically for web leads, it's very important that you contact them as quickly as possible, mostly because a typical prospect is submitting several different kind of club inquiries when they first maybe move to a new location. And they're going to make their decision based on which club is most proactive in reaching out to them and getting them to come into the club and, you know, sell them that membership. So as you can see, we give some insight here into, you know, what was the actual web lead response time in contacting those new leads. In this scenario, this is a little bit high. We would typically like to see this in under really 3 hours or so. So this would be a great coaching opportunity for this club to really get this number even lower and really get, as you can see, kind of that context within 1 business hour, 4 business hours, or 12 business hours, even better as contact rates.
Yeah, that's great to see, Misty. One of my favorite customers, when they launched analytics across their network, they actually created a location competition to see who could bring down that web lead response time to be the lowest as possible. And it became a weekly rallying cry on all their sales calls with their general manager. It's great to see that kind of competition being formed and how you can use that to actually drive better results. By seeing the dashboard, you bring it up, you have that shared accountability now.
Yeah, so there's definitely really great opportunities in all of these dashboards to build competitions within your clubs. And like Nick said, you know, create some camaraderie or really that, you know, that inter-club or inter-employee competition to get your numbers as good as possible and make sure those contacts are happening. So just to jump to the kind of the next part of the sales funnel. So let's talk about what happens after that initial contact. If we go over to our follow-ups dashboard, you can see all of the completed follow-up. So any communication that's being made from a salesperson or staff member at your club to a prospect or a member within your club. So this is great information for someone like a sales director to really understand, you know, are your employees reaching out? What are they doing to reach out? And really get some insight into kind of that data and that detail. So some really high level things that I wanted to call out here is first of all, the overdues. So if you have a high number of overdues, that definitely means that your sales staff may be understaffed. You might not be completing your follow-ups in the amount of time that you need to. Maybe they're a little bit overwhelmed and just have too many other things going on. So that's a really good insight to have. Obviously, we have a ton of completions in this example and some overdue. So there might be some catch up to do, but they're not terribly far behind. So the other thing here that you can see here is automatic follow-ups. And if we scroll down on this dashboard, you can see even more granular insight into the actual automatic follow-ups happening at your club and what percentage of your follow-ups are actually being completed automatically. This will help you really gain insight into, first of all, how much time am I saving my staff just by using automation in the first place? But then also, where else can I use automation? So we have this visual right here, which you can see if I hover over it, I can see a summary of kind of which of these follow-ups were automatic. And if it's very low, we might, you know, in this case, maybe a member follow-up, we don't have any automatics. So that could be a really great opportunity to start using ClubOS's automation and sending those, you know, text or emails automatically.
Yeah, one of the great things that I love being able to use this dashboard for is to identify where the sales staff is sending a lot of text messages. If they're sending a lot of text messages in a status, you can usually automate most of those. The sales staff isn't always sending a unique message each time. They're really just copying and pasting, and there's no reason to be paying your sales staff to copy and paste message. That's a waste of their time. The sales staff is already so thin in gyms nowadays that that's just a waste of time and effort. They should be on the floor spending time with members or making phone calls. So I love seeing when the phone calls is the majority of what's actually happening from a manual perspective, because that means you've actually tuned your automation to the point that you're getting the most bang for your buck out of ClubOS.
Absolutely. So just to kind of, continue into our sales funnel, I'm going to next go into what happens after those follow-ups are completed. So let's take a look at that club traffic dashboard. That's our last tab on the top up here. So this dashboard is going to really give, once again, those sales managers and the management of a club insight into what's happening when a lead or a prospect enters your club. So you can see here we have a good balance between unscheduled visits and appointments. So this is great to see because you know that your sales staff is actually reaching out, booking appointments. But we also have a really healthy amount of foot traffic of people, just walking right into the club, showing up, saying they want to sign up or want to get a tour of the club. The other interesting thing to look at here is your close rates between either an appointment or an unscheduled visit. So both of these in this example are a little bit low. So typically we like to see unscheduled visits around 50% or higher, and then appointments closed around 60% or higher. So this would indicate to me that there's definitely some coaching opportunities in this scenario. So, what's happening in that conversation between the sales staff and the prospect? What's the blocker and that's maybe preventing them from closing those sales? And really just, looking at the data and understanding kind of where are we losing that sale? Some other detail on this dashboard that can be super beneficial to your club. If I scroll down, you can also see at the bottom here, we have once again, some different insights into, how many visits is it taking a typical prospect to close. But really importantly, this traffic by day of week or traffic by calendar day. This is especially when looking at longer term time periods on the dashboards, it's going to give you really great insight into, how should I scale my staff based on the day of the week or the day of the month. So, it looks like in this scenario, the 6th was significantly higher than other days. Maybe I want to look at a couple months together and say, is that a day that's heavily trafficked? Is there a certain period of the month that I want more sales staff on hand to handle that incoming prospect traffic into the club? And then same thing for a day of the week. If it looks like, in this case, Tuesdays and Saturdays, there's some spikes, and on Mondays as well. So maybe staff up those days and staff down on other days that you're not seeing those same spikes.
Right. This really takes you past the anecdotal conversations with your sales staff and gives you some numbers to actually understand what volume they're dealing with. It's one thing for the sales staff to say, oh, I was overwhelmed. There were so many people to come in. It's another thing for the system to say, oh, wow, you did have 40 people walk in and there was only one of you working. So, wow, that actually was a lot of volume. Maybe we want to have 2 people on instead. It helps really understand what's going on so that you're not just relying on hearsay and conversation, but you're actually using that data to get that visibility into what's physically happening at the front desk.
Absolutely. There's definitely a number of great coaching opportunities that can be found by really looking at this data on the dashboard and understanding where your club has opportunities and where you might be missing some different sales or some communications with customers. So the final tab in this dashboard is our overview. This overview tab is an awesome tool for someone like a sales director or regional manager, or even the owner of your club that wants just a quick overview of what's happening. It'll give you those high-level details of each piece of the funnel, but in one view, so that you don't have to go searching for it. So we highly recommend using this view, and then taking a look at what you want to look at, and then deeper diving into areas that you want to see opportunity.
My favorite thing on this tab is the lead age closing widget that we have down below. Being able to see how long it's taking for leads to convert is great for understanding how to prioritize your automation and versus your manual sales staff effort. If leads are not really converting highly after about 4 to 6 weeks, why have humans involved in the conversion process at that point? You should just automate it away and use your marketing automation or your sales automation so that you're doing a lower cost touch, but you're still trying to get those leads in. You're giving them that brand messaging, you're educating them still so that they're still in the consideration phase, but you're not spending staff time making phone calls when staff, again, can be doing more valuable activities for you. So having that insight is just a great way to really dial in what your staff is spending time on so that they're more efficient and that they have higher conversion rates overall.
Yep, absolutely. So another really great tool for, like we said, those regional managers and those sales directors beyond this overview is our leaderboard. So our leaderboard, and let me jump over there. Our leaderboard is a great way to really compare performance across locations. So in this case, I can see, how my Austin versus my Denver versus my Philadelphia location are performing, and then look at those really high level details and KPIs across the board. So this will really give me some insight into, the performance between locations or even employees. So this can be grouped either way. If I want to view the exact same report by specific employees, maybe at a single location, I want to, maybe I want to rank my employees and see who's doing the best at the club. We can definitely use that tool to do this as well. And this same dashboard has, once again, some additional data that will let you dig into, what's happening to my web leads when they come into each club, which, who's closing, different origins better, and really giving you some additional insight into the conversion rates between origins and locations. So just a little bit of detail that will let you really dig into, which location is performing the best from that new lead perspective. But then we have the same format of a dashboard across the board. So maybe I want to see my follow-up data by location. Same thing here. So in this case, you can see, obviously, Austin is using, in this case, some automation. It doesn't look like our Denver, Philadelphia locations is using that automation. So that's an opportunity, right? So we want to start seeing, where can those locations start to implement automation and diving deeper into, what's delaying them from that piece of the process. And any coaching opportunities that can come from, just being able to see things at that highest level. And then just to jump over to the final two, so we have our initial contact, which once again will give you that high level location or employee comparison between those contact times. This will give you some insight into which of your locations or employees is most actively reaching out to customers. So as you can see, it looks like we have some coaching opportunities here at the Philadelphia location. Their web lead response time is nearly double that of Denver, and it looks like Austin is really crushing the web lead response time. So maybe there's something that is happening at Austin that we can, get some guidance from and start implementing at some of our other clubs to really mirror that performance and make sure it's, the brand experience is consistent across the board. And then finally, there's our club traffic dashboard. So similarly, you can compare, once again, that location or employee performance. And in this case, you can see, who's booking the most appointments. And something that's interesting to see here is, as you can see, there's nearly double the amount of traffic in the Austin club, but their actual conversion and event closure percentage isn't significantly higher. So it might be worthwhile really digging into, what's happening at the Austin club in the scenario that, we have nearly twice as many appointments, but the conversions are not really mirroring those rates that we're seeing elsewhere. Potentially missing out on a ton of opportunities for membership sales and just closing new leads and prospects.
Great. Thanks, Missy, for that overview. Talking to one of our newer customers, they just had such great perspective of how great it is to have the analytics that you can see at multiple locations. Coming over from other CRMs that don't necessarily have that regional or enterprise view, it's really great to be able to dive in and dissect the problems and then cross-train across your locations, as Missy gave us a couple of examples, ideas of. That's all we're here to talk about today. You can absolutely reach out to us. Go to our website, club-os.com, if you would like to schedule a demo. If you have any ideas on functionality that we're missing, if you thought of anything, I was like, oh, they should add this KPI here, shoot me an email. My email address is nick@club-os.com. I'll happy to hear any ideas, good or bad. If you're telling us that, if you want to tell us that we did one of our KPIs wrong, let us know that also. We'll love the feedback. But other than that, look forward to hearing from you. And hopefully this was a little educational on how you can be using ClubOS to gain better visibility into how your club is operating. Thanks. Bye.